Manning, South Carolina, a town bordered by swamps and nestled beside Lake Marion. Manning's motto is matchless for beauty and hospitality. In fact, it's even been said that this town has the most beautiful streets between Maine and Miami. When you visit, you will see a historic downtown, streets lined with oaks and antebellum homes. But the most unique feature to this town is the Francis Marion Trail. This trail highlights the presence of Francis Marion and his men in the area, and their importance in gaining independence for America. This vlog documents my family and I as we explore Manning and visit some of the sites on the Francis Marion Trail. Our first stop was a mural painted in 2019 by Terry Smith of Florida. This mural can be seen on the Piggly Wiggly building and is called Waiting in Ambush at Bensbow Ferry. This mural depicts Marion and his men after they had been chased by the butcher Bannister Tarleton and his British legion. After evading them, Marion and his men got ready to ambush these British at Bensbow Ferry. Lucky for Tarleton, he and his men did not venture that way. If they had, it would have resulted in a massacre, as the British would not have been able to utilize their cavalry or artillery. While looking at this mural, besides noticing the men preparing for battle, also be sure to notice the beauty of the swamp, the image of the waterfowl as they take flight, as well as a red fox nestled beside a fallen tree. The second mural that we found was actually at the same location, but on the opposite side of the Piggly Wiggly. This mural is called Citizen Soldier and was painted by Drayton and Sandy Woodrich in 2008. However, this mural has been retouched most recently by a local artist in 2022. The historical marker for this mural tells of how Marion relied on the people who lived in the area. These men would put off tending their land to answer the call for independence. In most cases, these men were untrained, yet they were able to cut supply lines and intimidate the British by their unorthodox fighting style. While you gaze at this mural, take note of the South Carolina crops, how the farmer is on his plow and brandishing his gun. Also, make sure to notice Oscar Marion, an African-American patriot, as he travels beside Francis Marion. This scene takes place as they are recruiting men for the 1780s battle at the Black Mingo. Our third stop was the largest of all the murals. It is called Battle of Waibu Swamp. This mural was painted in 2006 by Terry Smith and is located on the north wall of the IGA building. This battle took place in March 1781, and it was the first fight in what would be known as the Bridges Campaign. British General Watson and his men were sent to crush the Patriots, resulting in this clash that happened in the swamp, on a raised area known as a causeway. When Watson's force arrived with a cannon, Marion and his militia were forced to retreat to the Canty's plantation. However, before the retreat, mighty patriot Gavin James single-handedly slew 3 of the British. That night, Marion sent his horsemen out looking for the British. This resulted in the death of Major Harrison, and the South Carolina Loyalist Rangers were driven back. While viewing this mural, you can see the British cannon being pulled by the horses. The trees are covered in Spanish moss. A bird is preparing to land. Marion is in his uniform and sits upon his marsh tackey giving orders. His men are preparing by taking cover in the thick foliage. Also, make sure to look for the patriot climbing a tree, the wild turkey, and of course, a hidden fox. The fourth mural we went to was at Anderson Pharmacy. This pharmacy was established in 1977. It is also very popular because it sells specialty items. This mural is called Help for Marion's Militia, and it was painted by Terry Smith in 2013. The painting illustrates how Marion and his men relied on people who inhabited the area. The kindness and generosity of locals aided the cause by giving supplies, food, and tending to the wounded. At this time, medical care was basic and crude. The men relied on herbal remedies and even put vinegar in their drinking water as a means of avoiding disease. In fact, during this war, 6,000 men died in battle, while 17,000 died from conditions like flu, typhoid, dysentery, smallpox, and wound infections. While here, you'll see a man cooking in a large pot over a fire. There is another man being treated for a head wound, and a fellow patriot is being greeted by the men of the camp. You can also see the horses grazing amongst the trees, and remember to look for that hidden fox. The fifth mural that we went to was actually the first to have ever been painted. It was painted in 2001 by Will Anderson of Statesburg, and it is located on the fire department building. You will notice that this mural was done in a very different style. It shows the lush overgrowth of the swamp in which figures can be seen, such as a patriot taking cover behind a tree, preparing to open fire. You will also notice that the militia is far outnumbered by the British. One British soldier sits upon his horse, proudly displaying the English flag. While there is no fox that I noticed, make sure to look for the Carolina parakeet, which was sadly hunted to extinction in 1918 for its beautiful plumage. There is no wonder why this was the first mural to be painted, as it tells the story of how Marion became known as the Swamp Fox. This all occurred because Marion was able to lose Tarleton in the Ox Swamp. It is said that this is the location where Tarleton called Marion a fox that even the devil couldn't catch. While in this area, I walked across the street to the First Baptist Church to have a look. This church was established prior to the town, when the area was only a settlement on the Camden-Charleston Road. The church building was originally built in 1896, but was added on to in the 50s and in the 80s after a fire. While in Manning, we also visited two other churches. Trinity AME Church, which was started in 1865 by 50 ex-slaves. They met during Reconstruction in a stable. At this time, the congregation called themselves the R Church, but after 9 years, they changed to Trinity. The church focused on religious freedoms and education for the Black community. The last church we paid special attention to was the Presbyterian Church. It was established in 1855. It was built in 1904 in early Gothic architecture. The church was refurbished in 1993 after Hugo. The next mural was our favorite, and it is called Reflection. It was painted in 2011 by Terry Smith. This mural is located on what is now the City Trends building. In 1780, Marion and his brigade pushed back the British in the Black and Santee River basins. This mural was placed so future generations could learn about the Swamp Fox and the deeds of his men While finding the fox in this mural is very easy. The interesting feature about this mural is it looks like the scene is happening inside the building. You can see a modern man with a sledgehammer peering inside as the history unfolds. While in Manning, you will want to enjoy strolling downtown. The town of Manning was named after Governor John Lawrence Manning and was established in 1855. Its historic downtown is full of late Victorian and early 20th century buildings. A few notable buildings that we saw was the once Manning Hotel, a drugstore, and what was a stable that was built in 1912 to replace a wooden structure. But the most breathtaking building is the 1909 to 1910 neoclassical red brick courthouse, which sits in a beautifully landscaped courtyard. While strolling around this courthouse, you can see several war memorials. While we didn't have an extended amount of time here, I did learn that Manning is home to some great restaurants and shops. In fact, if you go to the Main Street Manning Facebook page, the area's restaurants, shops, and events are advertised. While walking in downtown Manning, we found a mural of a wrought iron fence. I couldn't find anything about it online. However, I did learn that this type of fence was a status symbol here in the South due to the labor-intense manufacturing, which resulted in a very steep price tag. The next Francis Marion mural we found was located on a building adjacent to the substation 2. It was painted in 2006 by a woman from Somerton and is called the Swamp Fox. In this image, Marion straddles his bay horse, which has a white blaze. He is dressed in his uniform and his saber can be seen. At the horse's underbelly, there is a red fox. This image is interesting because it actually looks like they are all leaping from the painting. After the fall of Charleston, Marion burst forth to lead the Williamsburg militia. He was never captured, recruited for the cause, led ambushes, and controlled supply routes to Camden. It is even thought by many that he was the main contributing factor to the British losing the war in the South. After leaving there, we found a building with a large photograph on it. The photo was of a 1935 Gulf gas station. Also, in the lot beside the photo, there was a replica of the gas station. In 2010, this small replica building was constructed to honor the past and the people who once called Manning home. The next Francis Marion mural that we came across is called The Ambush of Halfway Swamp. It is located on what is now the Domino's building and was painted in 2004 by Liz and Adam Williams of Sumter. In December of 1780, 750 British soldiers marched from Nelson's Ferry to the Santee River. This mural depicts Marion and his men who set up an ambush at Flood's Mill, now known as the Elliott's Mill Pond. During this ambush, Marion's brigade began picking off the British soldiers. One unique thing to this image is you can see a patriot actually firing his musket. If you decide to visit Manning, I highly recommend that you take time to look at the beautiful homes. They were built during the time when this town was rich from agriculture like tobacco, a cannery, lumber mills, and cotton gins. While admiring these homes, we walked by the county's first library, which was built between 1905 and 1910 for $1,000. This mural is called Pond Bluff to St. Stephen's Church, and it was painted by Terry Smith in 2010. This mural shows Marion's home in Pond Bluff. The home was rebuilt after the war with the help of Marion's militiamen. Beside this image, there is a portrait of the swamp. Adjacent to this swamp painting is a painting of the Church of St. Stephen's, which Marion and his family supported. If you are interested in doing this Francis Marion Trail, be warned, the website trail is hard to follow and it will take longer than you anticipated. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and as always, thanks for watching.